One
start
second.
recording. Really?
You already went live.
I know. I just said I was going live. Going live in 3, 2, 1.
All right.
You
Nope.
back?
It's not all right.
Yep.
All right. I'm gonna start recording. All right. Zencaster's going. Oh shit! We did the clap check before Zencast.
That's fine.
All right.
But
whatever.
Zencaster syncs it all up anyway, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It?
That's
It
fine.
actually was off
Yeah.
last time.
Was it?
Eric,
Yeah, by like a quarter
Eric.
second or something.
Eric, your video and audio is not synced up at all.
All right. Give me a second. Let me shut down a few
It's
things.
fine for me.
Liar.
I think it's you, John.
Maybe. Could be.
Kill Dropbox. Dropbox is all.
Okay, you're good. You're good now.
I'm killing Dropbox. Hold on. All right. Okay.
Did you guys know that 65 years ago today,
What happened?
Go on.
1965. The Three Stooges record their last feature film. It was a comedy western called The Outlaws Is Coming. In that feature film, there was a up and coming rising star who would later go on to play a millionaire with a very dark alter ego. That star being Adam West. This is episode 65 of PHP Ugly. Tom Rideout, John Congdon, one of my childhood icons, my idol, the man who set me down the path. There's no secret of what a huge Batman fan I am. And Adam West was Batman to me all through my childhood. And that man has passed away. Do either one of you care?
Absolutely. I loved the original Batman.
we were told not to step on your sound effects, and I can't hear sound effects, so I was waiting to be called in.
Which is almost exactly what I did. When I said, yeah. Good job, John. Way to take your cues like a pro. Appreciate it.
How you guys doing?
Doing all right. I guess Adam West couldn't be considered the Dark Knight, right? I mean, his character wasn't really that dark.
No, he's the Camp Knight.
Camp Knight?
Yeah.
Why? I don't get it.
Because it was a campy show.
Explain. Yes, it was. But as a child, it was what it was supposed to be. It was
Right.
a superhero TV show doing superhero things. As an adult, it's hysterical. But as a child watching that was Batman to me. Even though I read the comics, and the comics was a completely different sort of Batman, Adam West was still Batman.
Yeah, tonight they shown the bat signal down in Hollywood.
Yeah, have you seen pictures of it or anything? I heard they're going to be doing that.
I have.
Oh,
It was less of a bat signal and more of a projector against a building.
Whatever.
But it was cool.
And then
it's kind of hard to project into the sky if you don't have clouds. What?
So it's been a sucky year though, because we also lost Prince, which was another person I was a fan of growing up, who did the musical score for Batman when he returned. I mean, this whole thing is coming. I'm telling you, this is all connected, man. Dude, it's all connected somehow. It's a government conspiracy. Doom and gloom, take it away.
Well, and Batman
Yeah, here we
recently
go.
proposed.
Oh yeah, I did.
This
I did
week,
know that.
this week, Batman proposed to his longtime nemesis, Catwoman.
That's right. Mm. All right. Enough of Batman and Adam West. I do. I hope things are going well for him. What have you guys been up to this week?
Oh boy, JavaScript.
I saw your tweets. Oh, that reminds me. I have to apologize to Thomas, I'm assuming, but to the listeners, all three of them, I'm kind of hyper critical about the sound quality of our show. So I go back and I don't edit the show anymore. Thomas edits
That's
it
right,
for
I
me.
do.
And
Or
I'm
you-
super appreciative.
Roll it. Hold on. Roll it back for a second there. I edit the show for us.
Yeah, and I'm super
I-
appreciative of it.
I edit the show for you.
Okay, I don't
Not
see the
edit-
difference, but
Not editing your show. I'm editing our show.
oh, God, fucking people, man! I swear to God. Okay, you're editing our show for us. Okay,
Yeah.
you feel better there. You feel
Come on,
better.
you
You
gotta
feel
be
good about
PC.
yourself.
Yeah. Anyways, you were apologizing?
You guys and your PC-ness. I swear to God, this is too bright.
What about our penis? What? Where did that come from?
Anyways, I'm super critical about the quality of the show. And I always hear things that I don't think other people hear. There are certain things that absolutely irritate me. But I hadn't realized last week how much noise my little fidget spinner was making. And man,
Oh,
I was
God.
listening to the show. I'm like, oh my freaking God, that damn fidget spinner is going again. And it was me. I was the one doing it. But like when I do it, like I have it in my hand and I'm sitting here trying not to grab it. It's right in front of me. I sit there and spin this thing all day long, but it's right here in front of me. And when I spin it, I mean, I really don't hear much of anything. Maybe it's because the headphones, but even when I don't have the headphones on, I don't hear it. But man, you can hear it in the recording. I tell you, I got to put it down. You see, this is the problem. You can blame John for that one. John got me hooked on the fidget spinner.
Hmm.
You're welcome.
All right, so fidget spinner. I got there through Thomas, who said that JavaScript was his fidget spinner. Thomas, take it away.
Yeah, I got a favorite from React.js for that one.
So what are you doing with JavaScript?
Optimizing.
So are you an expert yet?
I wouldn't say expert, but I'm moving on up. I wrote a jQuery plugin out of a batch of disjointed methods that we had thrown together for sort of one specific task, and I am quite proud of what I've managed to accomplish. The code is concise. I think I've got it down to 1,000 lines out of what used to be 2,000 lines. Removed references to finding objects in the DOM and started embedding DOM objects into my object and referencing everything by its pointer, and it's slick, and it's definitely improved performance, which you can see in the animations. It does scrolling left and right. So yeah, it's
I'll have to be sure to check that out.
I'll send you a link.
Okay. You do that.
Yeah.
So
Probably
it's
do that
funny.
on Twitter, right?
Say that again.
So you probably sent a link on Twitter.
No, I haven't tweeted out a link to any of my official work.
I don't follow you on Twitter anyway, so I'd never see it. So
Yeah, I know.
Such a mean
You can't follow me. You're blocked.
You got a mean soul there, Congdon. I want you to know that. Okay, so I was disappointed to hear, speaking of JavaScript, actually, there's been a few user groups out here in San Diego that have just been shutting down. A couple big ones shut down just this week. A user group that was spun up for Vue.js, which we had a lot of people attending this Vue.js user group, including quite a few people from Diego Dev. They felt like they were getting a lot out of it. They enjoyed the user group. And then really out of nowhere, they just shut it down. They said, hey, we're too busy. They didn't give anybody any warning, didn't say, hey, we're getting too busy. We're not going to be able to do this much longer. Does anybody want to take it over? They just flat out shut it down. It was odd.
The funny thing is, from what I understand, last week they went to another meetup promoting their meetup, saying, hey, we have one coming up next week.
That's what was
got
odd.
Before it even happened.
You think the React.js community is threatening them?
Yeah, I'm sure that's what it was. No, I mean, I think they honestly got too busy, but still, it's like, I don't know. Give people an opportunity. Give them some heads up. Give them an opportunity to take somebody else to step up and take it over.
Could be a Sharks versus Jets type story.
Well, and then this is one you'd be familiar with, Thomas. Full Stack up in North County shut down as well.
Really?
Yeah, that was in San Diego. That was probably one of the top 3 meetups as far as attendance goes. That meetup pulled in 30 to 50 people easy. A meetup. I mean, it was packed, and yeah, for whatever reason, they really didn't give a lot of reason either. I guess they had a conversation about it in the previous meetup, so everybody knew it was coming, but. In their official "we're shutting down" email that they sent out to people, they really didn't give a whole lot of reason of why it was happening. But, yeah, shutting down left and right.
San Diego Laravel next, and then SDPHP.
That's right. In no particular order. We're starting up a San Diego Cake PHP meetup next.
No, you're not. Don't start lying to our poor listeners.
Speaking of San Diego PHP, we had a meetup last night.
We did.
I heard good things.
Yeah. What'd you think of it, John?
Am I supposed to be honest or not? I can't remember.
Yeah, I mean, be somewhat honest. Lightning talks are hard.
Lightning talks are hard. There was no real format other than talk about frameworks. So we had 4 different frameworks being presented, and I was talking with Daryl on the way home because we carpooled together, and it would have been nice to do almost like a debate style, like when would you use one over the other, or what are the pros and cons? And nobody ever points out cons of their framework, right? It's always look what my framework can do. So it was interesting, and the 4 different styles were very interesting. So I really loved your presentation on Cake PHP, where it was, here's what it is, and then you did a quick demo of it. Yeah. And it showed some of how it worked. But all of them ran long. I think that was the other hard part.
Actually, I set aside 30 minutes for each person.
Oh, really? I thought they were supposed to be 15. It's supposed to be lightning.
Yeah, bam, bam, bam. Because I thought about it. In 15, we would have been done in an hour. So, that seemed like it was gonna be short. So
not with Q&As and
I could
time
probably
between them.
Yeah, I like
that I was exhausted already.
Yeah, so I was a Cake PHP person way back, and it was funny. I was asked at the meetup why I went to Laravel, and at the time, like my initial response was not completely valid. It was valid to a degree. I basically said I started making money with Laravel, which is really one of the things that kept me in the kind of the Laravel camp. But in hindsight, as I thought about it a little bit more, I realized what really drew me over to Laravel from Cake at the time, because when I had presented on Cake, it was at like Cake 2.2 something. I forget, it was in my slide last night, but and that's when William introduced me to Laravel. Laravel 4 comes out. I'm still not interested in trying it. I'm still kind of a Cake person and using Cake PHP. the thing that drew me to Laravel was Composer, which at the time Cake didn't have implemented. So Laravel, they were like the first to forge forward with like all the new standards, PSRs, Composer, all that stuff. Laravel was like the first framework to come out that was aware of these things and implementing them. So I remember distinctly thinking I really wanted to try Composer. I wanted to see what Composer was all about. And the first thing that came to my mind was, well, let me install Laravel with Composer, because that just seems to make sense. So that was actually what had drawn me to Laravel. Is I started using Composer, started using Laravel, and after that it was like there was no going back. And eventually Cake 3 came out with Composer and all that, but by that time I had gone so far down the Laravel rabbit hole that there was no reason for me to back out. I just everything was making sense. I was embracing a lot of the work patterns and flows and all that. So I just started using Laravel from there moving forward. It was really nice, and like I shared with you guys last week, when I first spun up a new Cake application, it was a little overwhelming because it is different than Laravel, and there is a lot more verbiage. Comments are bigger. The way they do things is a little bit more complex. But it just took me a couple of days of getting back into Cake PHP, where I started remembering those workflows and how things connected, and how Cake PHP's patterns of doing things. And I mean, I shared on Twitter today, it wouldn't take me a whole lot to go back to Cake. There's some very compelling things there, but my presentation last night is not really. I always feel like I need to tell people that it's not really a good judge of Cake, because it's kind of like jazz hands. It's like fancy. Hey, look what you can do with Cake. And what I do is I quickly generate forms that tie into a database, have validations, but the reality of it is you can't really do much with those. You have to kind of get under the hood and customize all this stuff, and you still have to understand how everything works. You got to understand the patterns in Cake PHP, and you still have to do the work. You still have to do coding. And the things I do in the presentation, I use the generators to generate everything. So like you get a whole site up and running in a matter of minutes. And it seems so cool and it's so appealing. But again, the reality of it is you really can't do much with it. You still need to put in the work to the framework to get real results out of it.
Yeah, and there are generators for Laravel too. I've used a couple.
Well, there's generators. You mean the generators to like make your controllers and make your models? Is that what you're referring to?
There's actually some skeleton work or scaffolding.
This is all scaffolding. I mean, it brought everything together, generated views, and okay. So those are out there for Laravel. They're like third-party packages.
Yeah, and there's actually some improvements in more recent versions of Laravel for when you create a migration, to create a matching model for it as well. So some minor scaffolding that it does. But yeah I mean,
so somebody was asking me about that last night. I think that's been there for a while. To be able to throw that -m switch to make your models. Yeah, that's been there for a while. So yeah, I mean, Cake's got all that to it. You can generate your models and your controllers and all that. It's the scaffolding that is baked right into Cake. Pardon the pun, but there's a lot of things baked into Cake, like the debug toolbar.
That's not even necessarily a pun. They use that in their little their artisan joke.
Yeah. But I mean, it's well thought out. I think the creator of Laravel, creator of Cake, Larry. He's PHP Nut on Twitter. I forget what his last name is, but he seems like a super cool guy, like super in tune with the community. I mean, they just had Cake Fest this week as well. It just seems like a nice guy, very approachable, and I mean, he's been running Cake now since I think it's 2008. So it's definitely a well-established framework. he's got a company. We were talking some time back about being quote unquote enterprise ready and some of the requirements to be enterprise ready. And Larry has kind of positioned Cake to do that. I mean, he has a company that backs Cake, that you can get professional services for Cake through. They're the official company for Cake. It's his company. He's the creator of Cake PHP, and this is what they do. So it's kind of like a Zen or a Symphony thing, but on a smaller scale.
Yeah, there's actually there's a phone number for the premium support phone line on the cake.php homepage. So, I mean, if we're going to talk about enterprise, that's way more enterprise than Laravel's pushing right now.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the thing that Cake is really missing is CakeCast. I mean, you throw a Laracast that's focused on Cake, and it's right up there with Laravel. I mean, it's a great framework to work in.
Do they have a good database layer like Eloquent?
So they have. So yeah, it looks very Eloquent-ish. So it's a mashup between Active Records and data mappers. But yeah, it looks more like Active Records when you use it. So it looks very much like Eloquent when you use it. So yeah, it's on par probably with Eloquent. But I tell you, the framework that really blew me away a little bit yesterday, and I think I could see a full talk on this one, especially somebody who's actually, I shouldn't say somebody who has actually used it. I'm sure the prisoner last night used it, but that Falcon framework, the one that's the compiled framework for PHP, and it ends up being an extension to PHP. Oh my God. That freaking thing is
PHALCON.
Falcon, yeah, PHALCON. That thing is so stinking fat. It looked fake. Like, I didn't realize he was in a Falcon application clicking around when he was. I'm like, what's he doing right now? It's like, is he actually doing it? And he was literally just click, doing searches. It's like click, click, click. And it, just as quick as he could click, he was getting results. So fast.
I'm having trouble with Laravel's performance right now. I cannot say that I'm really happy with performance. I haven't done a lot of profiling on it yet, but part of my work with the JavaScript is just getting things to run faster and smoother and everything. And we have a lot of AJAX calls for nice fluid responsive design crap that I don't care about, but boy, it's really slow sometimes. And I give it an excuse of it's running on a VM on my dev machine, but then I'm also the only user, and I make sure to refresh it to make sure that it's getting cached values and stuff like that. And it's just, there's times where it really drags. I might have to give Falcon a look.
Well, I mean, it's not a drop-in replacement.
Well, no, I'm not.
Yeah,
I'm not expecting it to be a drop-in, but
yeah, if you're looking for performance, man, I mean, John, what did you think?
I'm not a good person to talk about it because I wasn't really paying attention.
You were too drunk at that point. You were what? You're too drunk. God damn it! I can't take you anywhere.
Well, I mean, you can, but you have to drive them home too.
Yeah, exactly.
I have a bit of a beef with John here today.
Sweet,
good.
I love beefs.
Let's lay it down. I'm sure it's his fault.
Oh, it's absolutely. Well, he's half of the problem. His wife being the other half. They put my family to absolute shame on Facebook. Like, to the point where I don't want John's family showing up on my Facebook feed because it makes my day worse. Because my kids are in the house screaming, and
what happened?
I get this picture. Oh, pull up Facebook. I get this picture today. I get this picture today of Grayson, John's oldest son, attempting to give John bunny ears And
So-
in the sense, he's 3.
Yeah, he just turned
Yeah.
3.
In the way that a 3-year-old understands how to put on bunny ears, which is both hands upside down.
is that what he's doing here when he's touching your head?
Yeah. Yep.
And my day was ruined. It was so cute. And I just looked at it and I went, God, what am I doing with my life?
And Eric, you gotta love the shirt he's wearing, right?
Oh yes.
I do.
No, they're
He
they're wearing
looks very, very dapper.
full
Look at that guy.
matching outfits.
Yeah,
Matching outfits,
We're-
plugging Diego Dev.
Of course.
looking
It
good.
was, so my kid's preschool did a Father's Day thing today, which was a whole lot of fun. We dressed alike in Diego Dev shirts and did a little photo shoot in our backyard. Jackie took pictures for us, and then we went to the preschool and they had a nice pancake breakfast with fresh fruit. So we just sat there at a picnic table and ate breakfast together, which was really nice. I came home and was going to go back because they were doing a little Father's Day craft. I almost didn't make it to that. I would have been devastated had I not. But I got back home to work for about an hour, and one of the clients started sending me support requests saying that something's wrong with the database, and people are trashing contacts, but they're still showing up, or they're moving them to folders, but they're showing in other folders. But he didn't. I'm like, I need more information. You know, you're giving me a needle in a haystack. I have no clue where to start looking right now. He's like, I know. I'm trying to get more information now. You know, I just have, you know, these people texting me, these people sending in support requests. So he was just all of a sudden under the gun, you know, with issues, and he's trying to give me as much as he could at the time, and I felt bad. So we start looking at the audit log of, okay, we have an example contact. What happened here? And luckily, one other person has said, why don't we look at the slave database or the replica and find out, you know, is the data updated there? And it wasn't. But he didn't know the next step. So I get on there and I do a show slave status, right? And it says it's running. Both both threads are running, and it's 0 seconds behind master.
That's always reassuring. I've always hated the 0 seconds behind master thing, because to me, 0 seconds behind master means something has gone wrong.
Well, it's almost always 0 seconds though. When it's
Right.
caught up.
Yeah, I was
When
just saying, isn't
when
that
it's
where it's
caught up-
supposed to be?
I want it to
It
be
is.
1 second. I want it to be 1 second behind master.
Well, you can
0
set it up to be
seconds
that way.
sounds like a rounding error.
So I'm looking at this and it's not making any sense. And I just happened to notice the position of the master log file on both. And had I waited to look at that just another minute or two, I probably wouldn't have seen it, because the master was at like 990 million or whatever the number was, that huge number. And the replica was only at 10 million. So I could see it there, but had that rolled over one more digit, I don't know that I would have noticed one was 11 digits and the other one was 10 digits long.
Yeah.
Mm.
So I
What are
happen
you
to
using
notice
for replication?
just MySQL's replication.
Ah, see, there's your problem.
What else would
What
you
am I
use?
supposed to?
So there's a company that forked MySQL. Boy, I can't remember what they're called now. That drives me nuts. Percona.
MariaDB. Oh yeah,
Percona,
Percona.
yeah.
Percona has a free replication solution. Let's see if I can. I want to find it now.
Yeah, do so.
ExtraDB cluster. Percona ExtraDB cluster is free, just like the rest of their software, the majority of their software. It is awesome. I haven't done ops in 5 years now. But when I was doing ops, Percona DB extra DB cluster thing was just the best. Much clearer replication information, much better sync times, much better latency handling. Really, really awesome service.
Percona's, they're kind of badasses, man. I tell you, they really kind of push that MySQL forward. Yeah, their fork copy of it.
I'm surprised they haven't brought it up because this client pays, them for support all the time. Like, hey, this query isn't performant. Can you help us figure out why?
That's expensive. Because as much as I love Percona and all of their great software and services, their support is crazy expensive. I mean, we had a $15,000 bill.
When you need help.
Yeah. We had them rebuild a crash database that wasn't using tables per data or tables per file.
Right.
That rebuild cost us $15,000 because it was straight up broken.
How much would it cost you if you didn't recover it?
Exactly.
That would.
I never understood why that wasn't
company.
Why that wasn't the default files per table.
It is now.
Fathom. Is it?
It is now, but it wasn't at the time. This was pre 5.0.
Even 5.0 wasn't files per table by default.
I think 5.2 was files per table by default, but we were at 4.8 at that time.
Yeah. Anyway, just to finish the story real quick, a quick start slave, started right back up, and it was an hour behind.
Wow. So do you know why it was initially saying that it wasn't behind, though, as far as time?
Not a clue.
That's not a good feeling.
Nope.
I've seen that before, and I think my end result was a script that ran start-stop every hour on replication.
That's not a very good result or way to handle it.
It's called a Band-Aid.
No. I wasn't good at my job back then.
Back then?
Yeah.
You said it, not me.
So
you're mean.
I sent out some swag. Thomas, you should get yours tomorrow.
Really?
I sent you some stickers and some pins. I actually sent swag to. I had one listener send me their address, so we sent some swag to a listener down in Mexico.
Eli 4D.
No, he actually opted not to send me his address for whatever reason. I'm like, no, seriously, dude, send me your address.
I'm surprised anyone gave you their address.
Send me your address. I'll send you some swag. He's like, no, that's all right.
Okay, this is a call out to Eli. We don't know where you live, and there's nothing we can do about that.
So, but hey, I sent you some of the Diego Dev pins. Man, you need to don't let me find those on eBay because they're going to be worth millions. Because I actually lost the bag
about the PHP Ugly
pins. Oh yeah,
PHP Ugly pins.
Diego Dev. Yeah, PHP Ugly, PHP Ugly pins. I actually lost the bag of PHP Ugly pins. I don't know if I left it in Atlanta or I felt like I brought it home. Like I felt like I remember seeing it when I got home from PHP Tech, but I have turned my office inside out, upside down. I cannot find these pins anywhere. I'm down to like having like 6 pins now, and when they're gone, until I find the bag, they're gone.
Yeah, they're gone until we order another round of stickers.
I've got about 15 here in my. Actually, I got. Like
that's who stole them.
Hey, yeah. See, he was rocking. See, John had a great idea. He put them all on his what's those Lancers? Is that what they're called? At the conference, lanyards. Yeah, at the conference to hand out to whoever wanted one. I don't think he handed one of them out.
So you guys
that's
going to
hurtful.
ZenCon in Vegas?
I think John is.
Discussing it. Not yet. I'm not.
You let me
Gotta
know.
bring it up.
You let me know. I don't want to go there on my own.
Are you thinking about going?
I am definitely thinking about going.
Mm.
I haven't left the house today, and by today I
Gotta
mean
get
this
out.
week.
So you know that open source mental illness, and I sent you a couple of those stickers too, Thomas.
Yes.
Not to give you any spoilers, but you know they're a complete whatever charity now, but they have
501c3.
501c3. They have a podcast as well. You should reach out
Really?
to I forget who's doing the podcast. It was the person we interviewed at Tech. John, who was that?
Joe Ferguson.
Yeah, Joe Ferguson. He's doing the podcast for OSMI. You should reach out to him because I know how comfortable you were speaking about it and speaking specifically about the challenges and struggles you face. So, yeah, reach out to him and see if
I tell you what, though,
yes,
Colorado has been amazing. I mean, I still don't opt to drive around a whole lot, but Colorado, the slowdown from what San Diego is, it is life-changing. It is fantastic.
Do you think it's that, Thomas, or do you think it's the fact that you've now been removed from an environment that you've managed to like nest yourself into because you lived there your entire life and you're able to build up those walls and stuff? Do you think it was really Colorado, or do you think maybe it was that change in just environment?
There are clearly elements of self-imprisonment, but the population density here, the way that roads and buildings are built. I mean, I told you when I first moved here that I was just shocked by how big everything is, because there's no space restriction here. So when you build a shopping center, you can make a T-Mobile store the size of a Target center, and no one cares. And just that scale of things, that lack of density, and people bumping into each other constantly. You know, even I wasn't in San Diego proper. I was in Encinitas, which is a small town north of San Diego. Even in Encinitas, it's very, very high residential density. You go into a Target shopping center at any given time of the day, you're not parked anywhere near the entrance, and people are pushing past each other to get to the shopping carts and down the aisles. And, you know, it's a matter of inches. If you go to the same type of company here, the aisles are just a couple feet wider because they've got the space. Two people can walk past each other with a shopping cart at the grocery store. It's just slightly bigger so that people aren't packed together. It's been really, really nice.
Well, I'm glad it's working out for you.
Yeah, I'll have to give him a ringy ding.
All right. So you guys know I'm kind of a code editor junkie, right? I'm a well-established Vim person, and I've said it before and I'll say it again. Vim is now a way of life for me. It's a workflow. So I'm getting more and more comfortable moving to different editors as long as they have Vim bindings, and I'm feeling comfortable using them. I still, end of day, there's still things that draw me to Vim, like hardcore Vim. A lot of it has to do with the years of customization I put into it, the very specific plugins I have installed, and how I have them configured. But I'm trying to move away from that and get back to more basic Vim keystrokes so that I can move from editor to editor a little easier. So I've been living in Storm for a while. I'll pop open Atom from time to time, especially if I'm just doing some quick edits. I'm liking Atom more and more, but it's really slow to load. I mean, it reminds me of why I went. One of the reasons I like Vim over other tools. I swear to God, Atom for me loads slower than Storm, and I think Storm loads pretty slow. But much like Storm, once it gets loaded and you basically keep it running, you're fine. But I've seen an editor pop up more and more, and people, I don't hear a lot of bad things about it. And I noticed one of our developers yesterday was using it, so I was asking him about it. Have any of y'all given a look at Visual Studio Code from Microsoft?
No.
Not in
I don't-
a long time.
I don't know how you bounce around so much. How does that not just drive you crazy?
How do you not? How does it not drive you crazy and stuck in the same editor all the time?
Because I have my workflow down. I know how to get things done.
I think part of it for me is none of the workflows feel comfortable, with the exception of actual Vim. And all the workflows, like somewhere in the back of my mind, I'm still competing with my Vim implementation. I think that might be part of it. I've been pretty focused on Storm 6 months now, where I stay in Storm, and but the onesie twosies off, I'll still pop into another editor. Like last night when I was doing my demo, I used Atom because it was easy to have it viewable on screen. I mean, it was just simple.
But it wasn't very
so
viewable
I
on
like
screen.
What's that?
But it wasn't very viewable on the screen,
Why not?
unfortunately. That whole
Well,
left
why
panel,
didn't you say something?
you
Oh yeah, the left panel didn't enlarge, which was weird because before I updated it did enlarge, but after I put down the latest patch on it, it didn't enlarge anymore. And that was part of my, because I wasn't mirroring my display, because I was trying to have my notes on my laptop and I was working off the projector. If I had my display mirrored, it would have been a lot easier to work with. It wouldn't even been an issue. So that was part of the issue from last night. But yeah, Visual Studio Code. If you're looking for a new editor to toy around with, man, I've been hearing so many good things about this. And I have it downloaded. I've fired it up a couple times. They have a Vim emulator for it because I wouldn't be touching it if it didn't. But it has a nice little plugin system. So there's tons of plugins out there for it. It's nice. I mean, if you're looking for something else to kind of fiddle around with, check it out.
Nah.
And it's from Microsoft and it's open source and it's weird.
Very weird. So what did the developer that was using it say about it? Like, why do they prefer that over something else?
So it was our mobile developer, Dave, John, and he just said that he tried a couple other tools and they just didn't feel right to him, and it's open source, and so this felt good to him, and he was getting a lot done with it.
And Atom is the GitHub project, right?
Yeah, Atom is backed by GitHub. Yeah. As a matter of fact, the beta version of Atom, the newest version that's coming out, has some serious integration with GitHub, where it's I haven't played with it at all, but from what I hear, it's like really tightly coupled with GitHub. Not that you can't use it; you can continue to use it with other Git repositories, but I don't know, like, if you see pull requests or open pull requests through Atom now, or what the deal is, but they made a really big deal out of the beta version of Atom and its integration with GitHub. But I haven't played with it at all.
So what version are you using then if you're not using the beta?
Whatever the latest stable is, it's 3. I think beta might be 4, and I'm on 3 something.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I see.
Mm-hmm. All right, so we don't have a lot of news topics to talk about. It seems like it's a good thing too because we don't have a lot of time to talk about them. But
wow, we're
we
already
have a
40
couple.
minutes in.
Yeah, we got a couple of Trello cards out there. Do we want to try to tackle any of those?
I'd love
What's
to,
with
but
the
Synergy
screenshot?
just crashed.
What's
The
with
screenshot? What does the screenshot
Yeah.
say? I can't see it right now.
It's a Trello screenshot. I can't see what it says. I gotta open it. Let me open up the image. It's a Trello screenshot that says.
Where are you seeing this?
What's it say, Eric? What's it say? Tell me what it says, Eric.
It says Eric Van Johnson removed you from the board SDPHP.
Oh, that screenshot.
a little bitter, are you there, Thomas?
No, it's just the what has Thomas been removed from of the week.
So, to my defense, we're doing away with that whole Trello board. So that was our private Trello board that I removed you from. That we
I
did
see.
things like we tracked the winners of PHP Storm and stuff. So we're doing away with that Trello board altogether, and we're moving it into our other tool, Teamworks. So everybody's being removed. It's not just you. We're shutting that board down. These services have got to stop ratting me out, man. Holy smokes.
No, I get an email once a week of something I've been removed from, no longer get to work on. So now on our Slack channel, it's just the SDPHP channel. I don't have a Diego Dev or SDPHP. Oh, well, I do still have my SDPHP email.
It's as we're paying the bills, we're like, oh wait, here we could save some more money here.
Didn't we miss the free account on Google Apps by a little while where we could have gotten more than it used to be more than just 10 emails? Because I think
it's always been 10, but you could get other domains. Like you could have signed up.
Oh, was that it?
Instead of DiegoDev.com, we could have had DiegoDevelopers.com and had 10 more. But they did away with that whole free tier.
Yeah, we're getting close to having to pay for our Google Apps account, man.
Does that mean I'll get an account? You can add me back?
Yeah, if you want us to charge you $10 a month, we'll charge you $10 a month to give you a Diego Dev email address.
I'll do
$10 if you think it's worth it. Okay. Oh man.
So we just got a full hour of development every month from them.
There you go.
Yeah, it might overlap with
he said $10 a month. That's like 3-4 hours from Thomas. Talking about
Colorado rates.
There you go. The developers who use spaces make more money than those who use tabs. I heard this article. I just heard this story.
The first comment that I saw about this was probably the most relevant comment, which was the people who answered this survey saying that they knew that when they hit tab, it inserted spaces, got paid more. But the people who thought it was a tab when they hit the tab key don't.
So, is that what the story says? Because I got to be honest with you.
That was the quote that I saw.
When the Silicon Valley had that whole thing where he broke up with the girl because she was a space person and he was tabs, and I'm thinking to myself, it was like everybody. I'm a tabs guy. Like I hit tabs, but I know when I hit a tab, it's inserting spaces because the PHP standard is 4 spaces. I mean, right. I know this. So yes, I hit tab. I will say I'm a tab guy because it makes sense, but I understand that tab is converting into spaces in my code. So I never understood like what my answer is supposed to be with that, or
spaces.
What really the difference was.
Your answer is spaces.
I'm a spaces guy, but nobody likes the spaces people. Everybody likes the tab people.
No, well, it's because they're making more money.
No, the Spaces people make more money, according to
Yes.
this.
No, no one likes the Spaces people because they're the ones making more money.
Oh, okay. All right. I mean, have you guys ever given much thought to this?
No.
Amazingly enough, I have.
Really?
Yeah.
Why is that?
This goes back to when I first started programming, and I was on a Sun station,
Mm-hmm. Sun
And-
stations.
and that's relevant because
There
on
it
a
is.
Sun station you don't have Microsoft fonts. Now, even then on Linux you didn't have Microsoft fonts unless you did the dance that they made you do. Nowadays, getting the Microsoft compatible fonts is much easier. But when I first started, Microsoft fonts were not on these systems, and so we had a lot of problems with the Microsoft team and the Linux team merging code and having everything collide on every line because it was a tab instead of a space. And so, circa 99, there was a company-wide meeting in which the developers had the fight for tabs versus spaces. And the tabs thing, the whole fewer characters thing, got brought up and was immediately shot down. Because spaces were uniform no matter what system you were on, whereas in Microsoft world, tabs were never uniform.
Mhm.
And then when you brought something from Windows to Linux, it was a character displayed on the screen instead of a blank space. So, yeah, I mean, a real actual meeting with highly paid engineers, I think it was 5 of them at the time, having a throwdown fight about tabs versus spaces, and spaces won very assuredly.
So, are you a Spaces guy?
I am absolutely a spaces guy. Tabs is stupid and wrong. Now,
I never give it much thought. I mean, I haven't given that thought in a very long time.
I won't judge a person's character if they're using tabs. I'm not the Silicon Valley level of crazy about it, but I will tell them that they need to start using spaces, and that if they have to use tabs, their Git commits will be sent back to them.
The only argument that I've liked about tabs, and I'm still a spaces guy either way, is for the people that prefer 2 spaces or 8 spaces, they can configure a tab to be those instead of 4 spaces.
But that's still using spaces.
I would say that's Spaces.
No,
that's the only reason.
It's not using spaces. That's using your editor to how you display it. But you're still
defining
using
the width of a tab as 2EM or 4EM.
Right. So that I prefer 4 spaces, so that's how I would set it up as somebody that wants it, just a little more concise, or only showing it as 2 spaces could. That's the only argument I've heard that makes sense, but even then I don't care.
There are a lot of arguments that make sense. The reality is when you were in a mixed environment, as I was back then, tabs broke code.
That's interesting. Well, speaking of code, one of the things I talked about with Cake PHP was some of the auto binding that it does between like models and controllers. So in Cake PHP, if you have a controller named Bookmark, which is the example we used last night, if you have a controller named Bookmark, it automatically will look for a model named Bookmark. So you don't need the whole use statement in your controller to use your Bookmark model. It's just there implicitly. So you can just start using your Bookmark model in your controller as if you pulled it. And it saves you a line of code. It's not a huge deal, but it's like this auto magic binding thing. The other thing I was mentioning with the whole Cake thing was the composer aspect. And Composer not being a part of CakePHP when I was using it, but it was one of the things that brought me over to Laravel. It's always been kind of a little bit of a frustration for me, and I'm sure a lot of other developers, clearly because they're addressing this now, is when you pulled in the Composer package, you had to go into your config file and you had to add the service provider, and before you could use anything. In Laravel 5.5, they're implementing this auto discovery now of Composer packages. So when you pull in a Composer package in 5.5, if it's configured correctly, you no longer need to go into your configuration file to include it. Now, I thought this was a great idea, and I was kind of pretty happy about it. I still think I am, but my question to you guys are, A, how do you feel about this? And B, do you view this as a security concern on any level? Like you're pulling in packages that are automatically now wiring up to your application. Can you see that being exploited in any way?
I think the exploits exist where they always have, which is that GitHub is not a validating service. If we're pulling code straight from GitHub and you're not relying or you're not committing your Composer lock file, you're getting something that might not be what you intended.
Mm-hmm. But specifically the auto wiring into your application. I mean, I was trying to think through it today. I can't really see how it could be exploited because you're still in control over your code and how that package is being leveraged. But I was worried kind of in the back of my mind. It's like I felt like I was missing something with this. Like, yeah, this almost seems like it might be a bad idea, but I can't really put my finger on why. Nothing?
Yeah,
okay.
I just don't.
Idea, and I'm looking forward to it.
I just don't know enough about it. Is all.
Yeah.
I'll have to look into what exactly it's doing before I start freaking out. I mean, I can freak out preemptively. We all know that.
Yeah, you're good at that. It's kind of your thing.
Yeah, it's I'm sorry, I'm a little distracted. Synergy just decided to stop working on my machine.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Have I told you guys that I'm mad at Synergy?
I never shared with you my Synergy story. No? Why are you mad at Synergy?
I told you guys a while back that Synergy is an open source company that has gone the way of obstructionist open source.
Uh-huh. With a little paywall, yeah?
Yeah, a little bit of a paywall. Hard to get a Windows compiled version without going through their paywall. Hard to get a Linux compiled version.
To your defense, a Mac version as well. Although, I don't know, maybe you can install it through Brew, but yeah, to get a compiled version on Windows, you definitely need to go through for the paywall.
Yeah, well, they're also taking out ads on YouTube now.
Oh, really?
Really? So they're positioning as an open source software as a product company, which that they're not providing service. I've actually got open tickets on the Synergy GitHub page that they're not addressing customer issues as much as they are selling a product that is supposed to be free.
Well, it is still free.
It is still free if you can find it.
So it's funny you should bring this up. Let me tell you my Synergy story a little bit here and see if I add any insight to what you're going to talk about. So I had Synergy reach out to me. I'm not even sure if I'm supposed to be talking about this, to be honest with you. It's been a while. Nobody listens to this show anyway, so I guess it's okay. But Synergy reached out to me a little while ago and asked me if I wanted to pilot an alpha version Synergy that they're working on. And so, I'm like, yeah. And it was this big to do. We had to set up all these screens and did all this sharing for all the screens. And, I got this special secret link that had this new version of Synergy, and it was interesting. I definitely gave them some feedback on it and told them what I thought about it. But one of the questions they asked of me is, what do you think of Synergy as a company and a product? And I was explaining to them how I felt about the paywall and the open source aspect of it, and I mean, they were pretty upfront and frank with us. They're like, we work really hard to make sure that Synergy as an item continues to be free and open source, and we really feel we feel good about the fact that what we're selling is the compiled version, which again, anybody can go through and compile their own version. We just do it in a nice, neat package for you.
Which isn't true.
I guess. Why do you say it's not true?
Because the make file's not open. There are components that are conspicuously absent that would make it an easy thing to compile yourself. Unless you're on Windows, of course, which that component is Visual Studio. And if it doesn't compile, who do you talk to? Because anything that makes it easier to compile is not going to get accepted by their repo. I understand their business model and their intentions. I think it's morally wrong. Because if I were to fork Synergy and do the work and start releasing a compiled version, I would start stepping on their business model, and I'm sure they would find some way of shutting it down. And I have seen it shut down. I have seen compiled versions intended to be distributed for free on file sharing networks or even CNET or whatever get taken down. I don't know what action they took against these people to remove it, but it isn't on Geek Files or whatever the normal distribution sources are for these open source Windows projects. And that's shady as fuck. I really dislike their model, which is.
But you continue to use their product.
I paid for their product. Absolutely.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I forked over my own cash for it, because I didn't think it was right for me to have my company pay for something that was just allowing me to use my personal machine.
Mm-hmm.
So I forked over the cash for it. But now seeing them go out and advertising on YouTube, that's the next step. I mean, they're taking an open source project and closing it piece by piece. Mm-hmm. And to me, that's really shady. But the thing that it does is very, very low level, something that a lot of software developers don't have experience with. And so there's not a lot of ambition out there for open source developers to replace Synergy using the existing code and risk getting threatened by the Synergy Corporation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, you remember Microsoft's tactic with open source code, which was, we have open source code in our proprietary executables. We'll give you the open source code we use, but the stuff that we develop proprietarily, we won't.
Right. That wasn't just Microsoft. That was a few companies are like that, but yeah.
Right. So who knows what the executables are actually missing in the case of Synergy when you download the source. Does it have the full code that they use to compile it? It doesn't, because it doesn't compile.
All right. I think that's gonna have to do for your doom and gloom section, Thomas.
You brought it up.
Yeah.
I brought it up.
You brought it up. I expanded on it a little bit, but yeah. And look, we lost John. John left us. He
I
doesn't
heard the
care about
whisperings
us.
of a wife. Oh, there he is.
Yeah. So something made a loud noise in the house, and she didn't know what it was, and I can't hear it because I got my headphones on. Turns out, I hung up a new toy thing in the kid's bathtub, and it fell.
Nice.
Damn kids.
Good job. Way to go, Dad. Dad of the
Suction
year
cup.
right there.
Suction cups don't work very well.
No, they don't.
So.
All right, gentlemen. I think we're going to have to call that episode 65.
Close down.
The Cape and Cow edition. There you go. Episode
You're giving me
65. Cape and
Give me a
Cow.
name on time.
Cape and Cow. That works for me.
Cape and Cow and whiskey.
Scotch. I got a new bottle of scotch. My wife went and bought me 2 bottles of scotch because I had finished one bottle really quick, and she's like, "Where'd this bottle go?" I'm like, "Man, I don't know. I've been recording a lot of podcasts. Maybe that was it."
You don't remember, honey?
All right, gentlemen. I'm Eric Van Johnson.
I'm Tom Rideout.
I'm John Congdon. Keep it ugly.
Keep it ugly. Yeah, I had to sync us.
Works,
I had to
gentlemen.
sync up us saying "keep it ugly" on the last episode.
You probably always have to do that, and that's how I like
don't.
to have it done.
That was the
Really?
thing about it, is I never have to. And on that episode specifically,